you guys are doing well. I sincerely apologize for this long break. It wasn't planned. It was just life and its circumstances. Exams, school, publishing another book. Yeah, life is chaotic, but it's okay. Hopefully, that's the last long break. Anyways, I won't take much of your time with that long intro. Let's get into the video. I've been following the Idaho murder case since December, and it progressively gets more frustrating. This case is a very messy one, with too much information, yet not enough. In a rented off-campus home, 5 girls lived there: Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, Dylan Mortensen, and Bethany Funk, all of which attended the University of Idaho in Moscow, where this case takes place in. Moscow, Idaho has a population of around 25,000 people. 11,000 of them are students who go to the University of Idaho. So many people with the same circumstances, mindsets, and friendliness. Their home was known to be a party home, so there were constantly people coming in and going out. 4 students were brutally stabbed to death in their rented off-campus home on November 13, 2022. The victims include Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle, and there were 2 surviving roommates. According to the affidavit, around 9 p.m. on a Saturday, Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were at the Sigma Chi house. Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez were at the Corner Club for about 3 hours. Around 1:20 a.m., Kaylee and Maddie left the bar. They were caught on CCTV walking to a nearby food truck. They ordered food and left by 1:51 a.m. Initially, the police referred to them leaving by car service. However, it was then referred to as a ride provided by a private party. All 4 victims were home before 1:56 a.m., as well as another 2 roommates. I'd like to add that Ethan was Xana's boyfriend. He frequently stayed over, so there were 5 roommates in total in the house, plus Ethan that night. 7 uncompleted phone calls were made from Kaylee's phone to her ex-boyfriend from 2:26 a.m. to 2:52 a.m. Madison also called him 3 times, with similar results from 2:44 to 2:52 a.m. These calls were investigated, with the police determining they did not believe he was involved in the crime. Xana received a contactless DoorDash delivery around 4 a.m. Before we continue on with the story, let's get familiar with the house. It was a 3-level house, and there were 2 bedrooms on each floor. Bethany, another surviving roommate, was on the 1st floor, whereas Dylan, Xana, and Ethan were on the 2nd floor. And lastly, Kaylee and Maddie were on the last floor. It was stated earlier that the 2 surviving roommates were in their beds asleep during the attack. However, according to the affidavit, Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, stated that she was awoken by what sounded like Kaylee playing with her dog. She then heard someone say something along the lines of, "There's someone here." Dylan believes it was Kaylee, although investigators believe that it might have been Xana, as according to a forensic download, she was on TikTok at 4:12 a.m. The surviving roommate opened her door twice, and the second time she heard what sounded like crying coming from Xana and Ethan's room, and a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." At 4:17 a.m., a security camera near the home picked up sounds of whimpering, dog barking, and a loud thud. Dylan opened her door a final time and saw a figure dressed in all black, including a mask. 5'10", perhaps taller, and not very muscular. She also stated that he had bushy eyebrows. She said that she didn't recognize him, and he left through the sliding doors. She locked herself into her room And that was it from Dylan for 8 hours. Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Zana were murdered viciously on the 2nd and 3rd floors. Kaylee and Maddie were in Madison's room on the 3rd floor, while Zana and Ethan were in Zana's room on the 2nd floor. A call to 911 was made at around 11:58 a.m., asking for aid for an unconscious person. Prior to calling 911, the surviving roommates had called friends over because they believed that one of the 2nd floor victims was unconscious. Recently, it had been disclosed that Ethan Chapin's best friend was the one who discovered his body. Some sources state that he was the one to call 911, while others state that he told Dylan to call. Whatever it was, the call was made from Dylan's phone. When police arrived, the front door was open. However, there wasn't any sign of forced entry or missing items. Detectives believe the killings occurred sometime between 4 a.m. to 4:25 a.m. Some sources even state that the killings only lasted for less than 10 minutes. After the bodies were discovered, authorities reviewed surveillance cameras, and a white Hyundai Elantra goes by the victim's house 3 times before entering the area for a 4th time at 4:04 a.m. Fast forwarding, police traced the car to Pullman, Washington, where a man called Brian Christopher Kohberger lived. There was a knife sheath beside Maddie and Kaylee. It is a topic of wonder whether that sheath was planted or accidentally left there in the hurry of committing those murders. It could possibly be due to the rush and the murders being the suspect's only focus, that he might have forgotten the knife sheath there. On that sheath, DNA was collected and run on a public genealogy database. Police recovered trash from Kohberger's parents' house in Pennsylvania, and it was concluded that DNA from the trash was the father of the person who left DNA on the knife sheath. So who's Brian Kohberger? Born on November 21st, 1994, he grew up in Pennsylvania. After graduating high school, he attended a community college where he earned an associate degree in psychology in 2018. He then worked as a security guard. He received a Bachelor's of Art and a Master's of Art in Criminal Justice. He moved to Washington to pursue a PhD at Washington State University. The campus is about 10 miles from Moscow. Some people who claim to have known Kohberger recall that he was quiet but friendly, and that he was bullied by students over his weight. However, others claim that he wasn't bullied at all. He allegedly used heroin as a teenager. He went to rehab in 2013. Kohberger's phone was tracked heading to Moscow before the attack, but the phone was off from 2:47 a.m. to 4:48 a.m., which is consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide, the affidavit said. His phone was near the victim's house at least 12 times before the murders, as far back as August. According to the affidavit, most of those times were late at night or early in the morning. There was a Reddit post where Ryan asked for help as to how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. He mentioned that it was for a research project. There were other posts where some people speculate that it might have been Brian, since the person writing these posts was commenting on the timeline of events and correcting other people. However, perhaps that wasn't Brian, since there was a Reddit post that mentioned the crimes happening between 3:20 a.m. to 3:45 a.m. Cell phone pings, surveillance, and digital data collected from Zana's phone state otherwise. Some people who knew Kohberger weren't surprised with the arrest. However, some were. Kohberger was terminated as a teaching assistant by Washington State University because he was rude to women and graded them differently than men. Students said that he had a drastic change in his behavior around the time of the murders, as he gave hundreds and left minimal comments. Autopsies were conducted on November 17. It was determined that all victims were stabbed multiple times. The coroner that was brought into the crime scene said that they all appeared to have been stabbed multiple times with fatal wounds to the chest and upper body with a Rambo-style knife. Zana Kernodle had incisions on her fingers, defense wounds from trying to grab onto the knife repeatedly. The murders were too gory to the point where blood seeped through the outside of the house from Zana's room. It was initially said that the victims were all found in their beds and that they were all killed in their sleep. None showed signs of sexual assault. No weapon has been recovered yet. On November 19, police requested the public to provide any video of the house recorded at the night of the killings, and by December 24, the investigative team has reported receiving at least 15,000 tips. After his first semester at Washington State University ended in December, he and his father drove across the country together to Pennsylvania. Kohberger was stopped by Indiana police on December 15 for traffic violations. Prior to the arrest, investigators monitored Kohberger outside of his parents' home. He was seen multiple times wearing surgical gloves and observed putting trash bags inside of the garbage can of a neighbor. Authorities alleged Kohberger had cleaned his car inside and outside, not missing an inch. Brian Kohberger was arrested on 30 December 2022 for 4 counts of first-degree murder and burglary. There are theories about many aspects of this case circulating all around the internet, so let's dive into some of them. It is speculated that Brian Kohberger wasn't very successful in relationships. The constant rejection from women might have been what stirred the anger and hatred towards them. Some people argue that he even tried to message one of the victims, but he received no reply. Some sources claim that before the murders, Kaylee shared that she feared she had a stalker. Moscow, Idaho had an overwhelming population of college students, and these girls were known to be pretty social and outgoing. And besides that, they shared portions of their life on social media. Their information was available for anyone to access. So any sick human being with pathetic intentions could find where they worked, what college they went to, and where they lived, and so much more. As I'm writing this video, sources say that Brian Kohberger had pictures of at least one victim on his phone. Let's talk about the roommates for a while. Some people speculate that Dylan Mortensen was under the influence of drugs, or even took part of drug dealing. Some speculate that maybe the reason why she didn't call 911 sooner was because of fear, and perhaps even a cleanup. Brian could possibly have never seen Dylan, as he was in an altered state of mind, a reason as to why the knife sheath might have been there. However, some things aren't adding up. There's absolutely no way there wasn't a struggle, given the nature of the crime and the scene, how horrendously bloody people described it, and the leaked pictures. There definitely was a struggle. Zana Kernodle, for instance, we know she had incisions on her fingers from trying to grab the knife. No way in hell the killer tried to keep her quiet while trying to kill her. Wouldn't there be screams heard given the nature of the killings? The morning following the murders, according to the affidavit, there was one footprint in front of Dylan's room. How can one simply disregard that? How can one disregard the pungent smell of blood, given that it was a massacre? Sources state that Dylan tried calling the victims on their phones around the time of the murders. It might have been a party house. However, struggles, screams, and a masked man at that hour should raise red flags. There is a theory that suggests that there was more than one killer. 4 people in about 10 minutes alone doesn't seem very possible, unless it wasn't the first time. There wasn't a pattern in the injuries, but that could possibly be to the way the killer encountered each individual victim. And according to sources, upon Brian's arrest, he asked if there were other suspects. Brian's apartment was gone through by police and certain things were confiscated. That include gloves, dust container vacuum, hair strands, 1 animal hair, collection of dark red spots, 2 cuttings from uncased pillow of reddish stains, other stains, receipts, and a computer tower. There is a gag order issued in this case. A gag order is an order by a judge or court saying that the people involved in a legal case cannot talk about the case or anything related to it in public. So there are countless things we don't know as of right now. We must wait until June 26th, 2023. That's when the trial starts. This case is deeply unsettling and saddening. These were college students who still had so much ahead of them. Madison Morgan, Katie Gonzalez, Zana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were very bright young adults who lost their lives in a very tragic and brutal way. I'll definitely try my best to release updates once there are major ones. While I covered different aspects of the case, that was the tip of the iceberg. There are countless other theories and facts and information scattered all